still hear the echo of the funeral home doors closing behind me, the weight of grief pressing down on my chest like a stone. I had just said goodbye to my best friend of 10 years, and all I wanted was a few quiet hours to mourn. Instead, I was thrust into a nightmare that began with a single, seemingly harmless request. I called my husband and asked if he could watch our 4-year-old son while I attended the service. He agreed, but without telling me, he drove our son to his sister's house, a place I had never imagined he would take him. I left the funeral feeling numb, clutching a program, unaware that my son was about to be left in a situation that would shatter my trust. Half an hour later, my phone buzzed with a frantic text from my sister-in-law. "Your son wet himself. Come get him." My heart leapt. How could my son, who has ADHD and a medical condition that makes him especially sensitive to bathroom needs, end up in a bathroom crisis at a house I never knew he was at? I called my husband. He didn't answer. I drove straight to the sister's home, my mind racing with questions and a rising tide of anger. When I burst through the door, I found my son on the floor, tears streaming down his cheeks, his tiny pants soaked. He was crying, not just because he was wet, but because he felt powerless. I demanded an explanation. My sister-in-law and her husband told me that my son had been making a lot of noise while playing with their kids, so they put him in timeout. When he begged to use the bathroom, her husband said, flatly, that he couldn't go while he was in timeout. He claimed he thought a child could hold it for 90 minutes. My son, unable to control his bladder, peed right where he stood. The words that followed felt like a slap. I berated them for denying a child his basic need, for treating a medically vulnerable child as if he were a nuisance. I told them that their actions were cruel, that they were neglectful parents, and that I could not stand by while my son suffered. My sister-in-law's face flushed with offense, and the argument escalated quickly. I scooped my son up and left, my husband nowhere to be seen. When he finally returned, his face was a storm of anger. He accused me of attacking his sister and her husband, who, in his view, had done us a favor by watching his stepson during an emergency. I asked him if he thought the way they handled my son was acceptable. He said no, but he insisted that my outburst was wrong and that I needed to apologize for insulting them in their own home. I tried to explain that they hadn't even asked to watch my son. They had been thrust into a role they weren't prepared for, especially given his condition. My husband insisted that an apology was the only way to move forward. I felt my blood boil. I shouted, "In your dreams," a phrase that hung in the air like a broken promise. He stared at me, calling my behavior juvenile, saying I was refusing to take responsibility. The tension was palpable. I gathered my son and fled to a friend's house, seeking a safe space away from the accusation and the guilt that seemed to cling to me like a second skin. My husband's texts kept coming, accusing me of avoiding confrontation, of overstepping, of refusing to admit I was wrong. He said he would only consider coming home after I apologized to his sister and brother-in-law. I sat on the couch of my friend's living room, my son curled up beside me, his small hand gripping my finger. The grief from the funeral still lingered, now tangled with a fresh wound of feeling betrayed by the family I had trusted. I wondered, was I being unreasonable for defending my son's dignity? Was my husband right to demand an apology for a situation that began with his own decision to leave our child with strangers? The night stretched on, and the house was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. I thought about the countless times I had put my son's needs first, the endless appointments, the sleepless nights, the constant vigilance required to manage his condition. I thought about the love I felt for my husband, the partnership we had built, and the way his words now felt like a cold wind pushing me away. I realized that there was no simple answer.